One of the most important ways meditation influences the brain is by reducing activity in what neuroscientists call the default mode network. This network is a group of interconnected brain regions that becomes active when the mind is not focused on a specific task. It is strongly associated with mind-wandering, self-referential thinking, and the tendency to replay past events or imagine future scenarios. While this system is useful for planning and reflection, excessive activity in the default mode network is often linked to overthinking, anxiety, rumination, and mental fatigue. During everyday life, the brain frequently drifts into this state of automatic thinking. For example, when someone is driving, walking, or performing routine tasks, the mind may begin to wander into thoughts about unfinished work, past conversations, or worries about the future. These thoughts often arise automatically and can create cycles of mental distraction. Over time, this pattern can reduce the brain's ability to maintain sustained attention and can increase emotional stress. Meditation works by repeatedly shifting the brain away from this pattern of uncontrolled thinking and toward networks responsible for attention and awareness. In many meditation practices, individuals focus on a specific anchor such as the breath, body sensations, or environmental sounds. This deliberate focus activates brain regions involved in attentional control, particularly areas within the prefrontal cortex and the anterior cingulate cortex. These regions help regulate attention, detect distraction, and guide the mind back to the intended point of focus. When someone first begins meditation, they often notice how frequently their mind wanders. Thoughts may appear about daily responsibilities, personal concerns, or random memories. The key element of meditation is the moment when the person becomes aware that their attention has drifted. Recognizing this shift in awareness is a critical cognitive process. When attention is gently redirected back to the breath or another focal point, the brain is effectively performing a repetition of attentional training. Each time this cycle occurs, certain neural circuits become stronger. The brain becomes more efficient at noticing when attention drifts and correcting that drift. This process gradually reduces the dominance of the default mode network and strengthens neural pathways associated with present moment awareness. Over time, individuals often experience fewer intrusive thoughts and greater mental clarity. Functional brain imaging studies have provided strong evidence for these changes. Research using functional MRI scans shows that experienced meditators tend to have reduced activity in the default mode network compared to non-meditators. At the same time, they show stronger connectivity between attention-related brain regions and areas responsible for monitoring internal experiences. This improved connectivity allows the brain to regulate mind wandering more effectively. Another interesting aspect of this shift is how it changes the way people relate to their thoughts. Instead of automatically identifying with every thought that arises, meditation encourages a more observational perspective. Thoughts are seen as temporary mental events rather than absolute truths or urgent signals that require immediate reaction. This shift in perspective can reduce the emotional intensity associated with negative thinking patterns. As the brain becomes more practiced at returning to the present moment, individuals may notice improvements in their ability to focus on tasks for longer periods of time. Activities that require sustained concentration, such as studying, problem-solving, or creative work, can become easier because the brain is better trained to resist distraction. This improvement in attentional control is one of the key cognitive benefits observed in long-term meditation practitioners. The reduction of excessive mind wandering also supports emotional regulation. When the default mode network becomes less dominant, the brain spends less time replaying stressful memories or imagining negative future outcomes. This can lead to lower levels of anxiety and a greater sense of mental stability. By repeatedly training attention and awareness, meditation gradually changes how the brain organizes thought patterns and processes information in daily life. Breath-focused meditation is one of the most widely studied and scientifically supported forms of meditation, largely because of its direct influence on the nervous system. The simple act of paying attention to breathing can create measurable changes in both brain activity and body physiology. Breathing is unique because it operates automatically through the autonomic nervous system, yet it can also be consciously controlled. This connection allows breathing patterns to influence how the brain regulates stress, attention, and emotional balance. The nervous system is generally divided into two main branches: the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic system is responsible for the body's fight-or-flight response. When it becomes active, Heart rate increases, breathing becomes faster, and stress hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol are released. This response is useful in situations that require quick action, but when it remains active for long periods, it can lead to anxiety, poor concentration, and mental fatigue. The parasympathetic nervous system has the opposite effect. It is often referred to as the rest and digest system because it helps the body relax, recover, and conserve energy. When the parasympathetic system becomes dominant, heart rate slows, blood pressure decreases, and the body shifts into a state that supports calm focus and mental stability. Breath-focused meditation works largely by increasing activity in this calming branch of the nervous system. During breath-focused meditation, attention is directed toward the natural rhythm of inhaling and exhaling. Some practices involve counting breaths, while others simply involve noticing the sensations of air moving through the nose, chest, or abdomen. This focused awareness naturally slows the breathing rate and deepens each breath. Slower breathing sends signals through the vagus nerve, one of the most important communication pathways between the brain and the body. The vagus nerve plays a major role in regulating the parasympathetic nervous system. When slow, controlled breathing stimulates this nerve, it signals the brain that the body is safe and not under immediate threat. As a result, the brain begins to reduce the production of stress hormones. Heart rate variability, a marker associated with nervous system balance and resilience, often improves during this process. Brain imaging studies show that breath-focused meditation also strengthens activity in brain regions responsible for attention and emotional regulation. The prefrontal cortex, which plays a key role in decision-making and cognitive control, becomes more engaged when individuals maintain attention on their breath. This increased activity helps the brain monitor distractions and redirect focus when the mind begins to wander. Another important brain region involved in breath-focused meditation is the insular cortex. This region is responsible for processing internal body sensations and emotional awareness. When attention is placed on breathing, the insula becomes more active, improving the brain's ability to detect subtle changes in bodily states. This increased awareness can help individuals recognize early signs of stress or emotional tension before those states become overwhelming. Breathing patterns also influence levels of carbon dioxide and oxygen in the bloodstream, which can affect brain function. Slow, rhythmic breathing helps maintain a balanced exchange of these gases, supporting stable neural activity. When breathing becomes shallow or rapid during stress, this balance can be disrupted, which may contribute to feelings of anxiety or mental agitation. Practicing breath-focused meditation regularly trains the brain to access this calm physiological state more easily. Over time, individuals often develop the ability to slow their breathing naturally during stressful situations, which can help regulate emotional responses and maintain clear thinking. This skill becomes particularly useful in moments that require sustained attention, complex decision-making, or emotional control. The simplicity of breath-focused meditation is one of its greatest strengths. Because breathing is always present, it provides a reliable anchor for attention at any time. By repeatedly directing awareness to the breath and gently returning to it whenever distractions arise, the brain learns to stabilize attention and shift the nervous system toward a calmer and more balanced state. Open awareness meditation, sometimes referred to as open monitoring meditation, is a practice that trains the brain to observe thoughts, sensations, and external stimuli without becoming overly attached or reactive to them. Unlike focused meditation practices that concentrate on a single object, such as the breath, open awareness meditation involves expanding attention to include whatever arises in the present moment. This could include thoughts, emotions, sounds, body sensations, or even subtle changes in mental states. The goal is not to control these experiences, but to observe them with a neutral and curious awareness. The brain constantly produces thoughts, often at a rapid and automatic pace. These thoughts can include memories, plans, worries, or internal commentary about ongoing experiences. Most people tend to become fully absorbed in these thoughts without realizing it. When this happens, the brain shifts into patterns of automatic thinking that can reinforce stress, distraction, or emotional reactivity. Open awareness meditation trains the brain to recognize thoughts as mental events rather than facts that must be followed or acted upon. One of the key cognitive skills developed through this practice is meta-awareness. Meta-awareness refers to the ability to observe one's own thoughts and mental processes from a slightly detached perspective. Instead of being carried away by every thought that appears, the individual learns to notice the thought itself. This creates a small but important space between the thought and the reaction to it. That space allows the brain to respond more thoughtfully rather than automatically. During open awareness meditation, a person might sit quietly and simply observe what enters their field of awareness. A sound might appear, such as a passing car or distant conversation. A sensation in the body might arise, like warmth or tension in the shoulders. A thought might appear about something that happened earlier in the day. Rather than pushing these experiences away or focusing intensely on them, the practitioner simply notices them and allows them to pass naturally. Neuroscience research suggests that this practice strengthens several brain regions involved in cognitive monitoring and emotional regulation. The anterior cingulate cortex, which plays an important role in detecting mental conflict and monitoring attention, becomes more active when individuals practice observing their thoughts without reacting. This region helps the brain recognize when attention has shifted and supports the ability to return to a stable state of awareness. Open awareness meditation also influences activity in the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for higher-level thinking and decision-making. When this region becomes more engaged, it helps regulate emotional responses generated by deeper brain structures, such as the amygdala. The amygdala is responsible for detecting threats and triggering emotional reactions like fear or stress. By strengthening connections between the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala, meditation helps create a more balanced response to emotional stimuli. Another benefit of open awareness meditation is its ability to reduce cognitive rigidity. Cognitive rigidity occurs when the mind becomes stuck in repetitive patterns of thinking. These patterns often involve worries about the future or regrets about the past. By practicing non-judgmental observation of thoughts, the brain learns that thoughts can appear and disappear without needing to be controlled or suppressed. This flexibility allows the mind to shift more easily between different mental states. Open awareness also improves sensory awareness. Many people spend much of their day lost in thought and disconnected from their immediate environment. By widening the scope of attention, this meditation practice increases awareness of subtle details, such as sounds, bodily sensations, or shifts in emotional tone. This expanded awareness can enhance creativity and insight because the brain becomes more receptive to information that might otherwise go unnoticed. The process of noticing thoughts without reacting to them can significantly reduce emotional reactivity over time. When a stressful or negative thought appears, the practitioner learns to recognize it as a passing mental event rather than a signal that requires immediate concern. This reduces the likelihood of becoming caught in cycles of rumination or worry. With consistent practice, open awareness meditation trains the brain to remain stable, even when thoughts, emotions, or external distractions arise. Instead of trying to eliminate mental activity, the practice develops a calm and steady awareness that allows experiences to move through consciousness without overwhelming attention or emotional balance. Body scan meditation is a practice that develops a deeper awareness of internal bodily sensations, a process known in neuroscience as interoception. Interoception refers to the brain's ability to sense signals coming from within the body, including muscle tension, heart rate, breathing patterns, temperature, and subtle shifts in physical comfort or discomfort. This internal awareness is essential for maintaining emotional balance and regulating stress responses because the brain constantly uses these signals to interpret how the body is feeling. In modern daily life, many people spend long periods focused on external tasks such as work, screens, or problem solving. During this time, attention is often directed outward, and awareness of the body becomes limited. As a result, signs of stress such as tight muscles, shallow breathing, or increased heart rate may go unnoticed until they become intense or uncomfortable. Body scan meditation trains the brain to reconnect with these internal signals before they escalate into stronger stress responses. The practice usually begins with a person sitting or lying down in a comfortable position, while directing attention slowly through different parts of the body. The process often starts at the feet and gradually moves upward through the legs, abdomen, chest, arms, shoulders, neck, and head. At each point, the individual pauses to notice sensations such as warmth, pressure, tingling, or areas of tension. The goal is not to change these sensations, but simply to observe them carefully. This focused attention activates regions of the brain involved in body awareness, particularly the insular cortex. The insula plays a major role in processing internal bodily signals and translating them into emotional experiences. For example, feelings such as anxiety or calmness are often linked to changes in heart rate, breathing, or muscle tension. When the insula becomes more active and better connected with other brain regions, individuals develop a stronger awareness of how their body is responding to different situations. Improving interoception through body scan meditation allows people to recognize early signs of stress or emotional shifts. For example, someone might notice tension building in their shoulders or jaw before they consciously realize they are feeling anxious or overwhelmed. This early detection creates an opportunity to respond in a calmer and more deliberate way. Instead of reacting automatically to stress, the person can adjust their breathing, relax their muscles, or shift their attention to something more stabilizing. Another important aspect of body scan meditation is the reduction of chronic muscle tension. Many people carry low levels of physical tension throughout the day without realizing it. The simple act of paying attention to these areas can cause the muscles to release and relax naturally. This relaxation occurs because the nervous system shifts away from a stress-dominated state toward a more balanced state associated with recovery and restoration. Body scan meditation also strengthens the connection between the brain and the autonomic nervous system. When attention is directed toward bodily sensations, the brain receives continuous feedback about the body's current condition. This feedback helps regulate physiological processes such as breathing rhythm, heart rate, and digestion. Over time, the nervous system becomes more responsive and adaptable, allowing the body to recover from stress more efficiently. Scientific studies have shown that people who regularly practice body scan meditation often experience improvements in emotional regulation and stress tolerance. Increased activity in the insular cortex is associated with better integration of physical sensations and emotional experiences. This means individuals become more capable of understanding how their emotions are reflected in their bodies and can respond with greater awareness and control. Body scan meditation can also improve concentration by training sustained attention. Moving awareness slowly from one body region to another requires consistent focus. Each time the mind drifts to unrelated thoughts and is gently brought back to bodily sensations, the brain strengthens networks involved in attentional control. Over time, this repeated practice improves the brain's ability to stay present and attentive during other tasks. Another benefit of this practice is the development of a more accepting relationship with bodily sensations. Instead of labeling sensations as good or bad, the practitioner learns to observe them neutrally. This reduces the tendency to resist discomfort or become overly attached to pleasant sensations. By simply noticing what is happening in the body without judgment, the brain develops greater stability and resilience in response to changing physical and emotional states. Meditation has a powerful ability to reshape the structure and function of the brain through a process known as neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity refers to the brain's capacity to change, adapt, and reorganize itself in response to repeated experiences and behaviors. For many years, scientists believed that the adult brain was relatively fixed and unable to change significantly after a certain age. Modern neuroscience has shown that this assumption is incorrect. The brain remains capable of forming new neural connections and strengthening existing pathways throughout life, and meditation is one activity that can strongly influence this process. When a person practices meditation regularly, certain brain circuits are activated repeatedly. Each time these circuits are used, the connections between neurons involved in attention, emotional regulation, and awareness become stronger. This process is similar to how muscles grow stronger with repeated physical exercise. In the brain, repeated activation of specific neural pathways increases the efficiency of communication between neurons, allowing those circuits to function more effectively over time. One of the most important brain regions affected by meditation is the prefrontal cortex. This area is located at the front of the brain and is responsible for many higher-level cognitive functions, including attention control, decision-making, impulse regulation, and long-term planning. Studies using brain imaging technology have found that individuals who meditate regularly often show increased thickness or density in parts of the prefrontal cortex. These structural changes are associated with improved focus, better emotional control, and stronger executive functioning. Meditation also influences the hippocampus, a region of the brain involved in memory formation and learning. The hippocampus plays a crucial role in converting short-term experiences into long-term memories and in organizing information in a meaningful way. Chronic stress can damage cells in this region, which may impair memory and cognitive flexibility. Research suggests that regular meditation may help protect the hippocampus by reducing stress hormones and supporting the growth of new neural connections within this area. Another important brain structure affected by meditation is the amygdala. The amygdala is deeply involved in processing emotional reactions, particularly those related to fear, anxiety, and perceived threats. When the amygdala becomes overactive, individuals may experience heightened emotional reactivity and increased stress responses. Brain imaging studies have shown that people who practice meditation consistently often display reduced activity in the amygdala, especially when responding to stressful or emotionally challenging situations. The relationship between the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala is especially important for emotional regulation. The prefrontal cortex acts as a regulatory system that helps control and interpret emotional signals coming from the amygdala. Meditation strengthens the communication between these two regions, allowing the brain to manage emotional reactions more effectively. When this connection becomes stronger, individuals are better able to pause before reacting to stressful situations and respond with greater clarity and control. Meditation also strengthens networks involved in attention and sensory awareness. Brain regions such as the anterior cingulate cortex and the insular cortex show increased activity and connectivity in individuals who meditate regularly. The anterior cingulate cortex helps monitor attention and detect when the mind becomes distracted, while the insula processes internal body signals and emotional awareness. Strengthening these areas allows the brain to maintain focus and stay connected to present moment experiences. Long-term meditation practice can also influence how different brain networks communicate with each other. Research suggests that meditation improves functional connectivity, meaning different regions of the brain coordinate their activity more efficiently. This improved coordination allows cognitive processes such as attention, memory, and emotional regulation to work together more smoothly. These structural and functional changes do not require extremely long meditation sessions. Even relatively short daily practices can gradually influence neural pathways when performed consistently over time. The key factor is repetition, which allows the brain to reinforce beneficial circuits while reducing reliance on patterns associated with stress and distraction. Through the process of neuroplasticity, meditation becomes a form of mental training that gradually rewires how the brain processes information and responds to experiences. As attention networks strengthen and stress-related circuits become less reactive, the brain becomes better equipped to maintain focus, regulate emotions, and adapt to changing situations with greater stability and resilience. One of the most important principles behind effective meditation is consistency rather than duration. Many people assume that meditation requires long sessions to produce meaningful benefits. But neuroscience research suggests that short, regular practice can be highly effective for training the brain. Practicing meditation for a few minutes every day can gradually strengthen the neural circuits involved in attention, awareness, and emotional regulation. The key factor is repetition, which allows the brain to adapt through neuroplastic changes over time. Attention is controlled largely by networks located in the prefrontal cortex and the anterior cingulate cortex. These regions are responsible for directing focus, monitoring distractions, and maintaining goal-directed behavior. During meditation, when an individual focuses on a specific anchor, such as the breath, these attention networks become active. However, the mind naturally drifts away from the point of focus because the brain is designed to generate thoughts continuously. This drifting of attention is not a mistake in meditation. It is actually part of the training process. The most valuable moment in meditation often occurs when a person realizes that their mind has wandered. At that moment, the brain is engaging in a process of cognitive monitoring. The anterior cingulate cortex detects the shift in attention, while the prefrontal cortex becomes involved in redirecting focus back to the chosen point of awareness. Each time this cycle occurs, mind wandering, noticing the distraction, and returning attention, the brain strengthens its ability to regulate focus. Short meditation sessions provide frequent opportunities to practice this cycle of attention training. For example, a 5 or 10-minute session might involve dozens of moments where the mind drifts and attention is gently brought back. Each of these moments acts like a repetition in mental exercise. Just as lifting weights repeatedly strengthens muscles, repeatedly bringing attention back to the present moment strengthens neural circuits responsible for cognitive control. Over time, these strengthened circuits improve the brain's ability to sustain attention in everyday activities. Tasks that require concentration, such as reading, studying, writing, or solving problems, become easier because the brain becomes more skilled at noticing distractions and returning to the task at hand. This improvement in attentional control is one of the most widely observed cognitive benefits of regular meditation practice. Consistency also helps stabilize the nervous system. When meditation is practiced daily, the brain begins to associate the practice with a shift toward a calmer physiological state. Slow breathing, reduced muscle tension, and decreased activity in stress-related brain regions become more familiar patterns. As a result, the brain learns to access these states more easily, even outside of formal meditation sessions. Another advantage of short daily practice is that it reduces resistance to starting the habit. Long meditation sessions can feel intimidating or difficult to maintain, especially for beginners. Short sessions are more manageable and can be integrated into daily routines more easily. For example, practicing meditation for a few minutes in the morning or before sleep can gradually build a stable habit that supports long-term brain changes. Research has shown that even brief periods of mindfulness training can improve working memory, emotional regulation, and attentional stability. These improvements occur because the brain repeatedly practices monitoring internal experiences and guiding attention intentionally. The repeated activation of these networks gradually increases their efficiency and connectivity. Short and consistent meditation sessions also help train cognitive flexibility. Cognitive flexibility refers to the brain's ability to shift attention between different tasks or mental states without becoming stuck in rigid patterns of thinking. By regularly observing distractions and returning attention to the present moment, the brain becomes better at adjusting to changing demands and recovering from interruptions. As meditation becomes a regular habit, the brain gradually adopts new patterns of functioning that support sustained attention and emotional balance. Instead of reacting automatically to every distraction or stressful thought, the brain becomes more skilled at maintaining focus and choosing where attention is directed. This repeated training strengthens the prefrontal cortex and related attention networks, allowing individuals to maintain clarity, concentration, and mental stability more consistently in daily life. Meditation works as a form of mental training that gradually reshapes how the brain manages attention, emotions, and stress. Through consistent practice, different techniques such as breath awareness, open monitoring, and body scanning strengthen neural circuits responsible for focus and self-regulation while reducing the brain's tendency toward excessive mind-wandering and emotional reactivity. As these brain networks become more efficient, individuals often experience greater mental clarity, improved concentration, and a calmer response to challenges. Over time, meditation becomes more than a practice performed during quiet moments. It becomes a skill the brain carries into everyday life, supporting resilience, balanced thinking, and a deeper sense of awareness in daily experiences.